Hi, I'm Digby Luckhurst-Smith from Lynch, Meyer. Following on from Sam's presentation on security of payments, I'm going to talk today a little bit about the key methods of debt recovery that we use and give you some useful tips for some own self-help remedies to help you collect some outstanding amounts. The three key methods of debt recovery I'll be focusing on today are letters of demand from solicitors, claims in the magistrates court, and creditor statutory demands. The first method I'll be speaking about is a letter of demand from a solicitor. So this is a letter that's printed on the letterhead of a solicitor's firm that sets out the amount that's owing to you and generally encloses a copy of the invoices you've rendered to date. It provides a time for repayment, generally 21 days. Probably the biggest benefit for a letter of demand is its affordability. Another benefit of the letter of demand is how quickly they can be sent out. Provided you get your instructions to your solicitors as soon as possible, that letter will go the same day. The response required to that letter is generally 21 days. This is because the letter serves as a pre-action notice under the magistrates court, which I'll talk about later. A letter of demand also provides accuracy. It sets out the amount owed as at the date of that letter and typically encloses copies of all the invoices owed. Letters of demand appear very serious. The threat of legal proceedings puts thoughts in the debtor's mind as to how they'll defend proceedings. They think, geez, these guys look serious and the clock is ticking. What are the consequences if I don't pay? I should probably get legal advice. How much will that cost? All of these factors generally lead to an effective recovery. In South Australia, for debts under $12,500, it's most appropriate to issue a claim in the Magistrates Court of South Australia minor civil jurisdiction. This is a jurisdiction that is for self-represented parties, so lawyers aren't permitted unless in special circumstances. This is typically the next step after a letter of demand is issued and money still hasn't been paid. In South Australia, there are a few fees involved in issuing the claim in the Magistrates Court. In South Australia, and as at the date of this recording, the filing fee for issuing a claim in the Magistrates Court in the minor civil jurisdiction is $150. If you wish to get a solicitor involved to help you draft the claim, there will be further costs. Depending on the amount of the debt and the complexity of the matter, it may be appropriate for you to obtain legal advice and assistance in drafting the claim. Once the claim has been drafted and filed, the defendant is required to provide a defence in 21 days. If the defence is filed, parties will be notified of a date which they must attend court for what is called a directions hearing. Now, courts are aware parties are not lawyers and will make orders as to what each of the parties must do to prepare the matter for trial. This can turn into quite a lengthy process if contested, can range typically between 6 to 12 months and even longer. I'm not going to cover the full procedure of Magistrates Court's proceedings in this presentation. If you have any queries, we're more than happy to help you. Now I'll be speaking about a creditor statutory demand for payment of debt. These demands only apply to companies and not individuals. Some businesses or contractors are individuals. If you're unsure, check the terms of your contract and your invoices, and if you're still uncertain, let us know. One of the requirements of a creditor statutory demand is that the debt cannot be in dispute. If your contractor has raised a dispute in respect of this debt, then this is not an appropriate method of debt recovery. The creditor statutory demand is a highly technical document. It demands payment of the debt. If there are any deficiencies in the demand or how it is served, the demand will be set aside, which means it is invalid. Preparing these demands almost certainly requires legal assistance. The timeframe in which a debtor needs to respond to the demand is 21 days. Once the demand has expired, the creditor can apply to the court to wind up the company. The demand is not expressly a debt recovery tool. The objective of the demand is to notify the court that the debtor company is insolvent and needs to be wound up. This prevents other businesses such as yours from entering into contracts with this company in circumstances where it's not going to be paid. Finally, I'll give you some tips you can employ yourself as to how you can recover your own debts more easily. First, see if you can get paid up front, either in part or in whole, particularly with larger matters. This is sometimes not an unreasonable request, particularly depending on the circumstances. Ultimately, this depends on the commerciality of the project, and the nature of the relationship will dictate whether or not this is appropriate. Secondly, you can ask for security in the case that you don't get paid. This can come in the form of a caveat over land, a security interest over the goods or assets of the contracting party, or another form of security. Asking for security is also appropriate when dealing with a payment arrangement scenario for an outstanding debt. As Sam mentioned in his presentation, it's always useful to keep written records. This is particularly important dealing with the terms of the contract, how invoices are issued, when invoices are due, and scope of the works. Always issue your invoices promptly. We can all be guilty of this from time to time, but remember, the sooner the invoice goes out, the clock starts ticking and the sooner you'll get paid. Along the same lines, always follow up outstanding amounts. Protect yourself. Act quickly. These things take time. If you've issued a letter of demand, 21 days can be a long time, especially if you're feeling the heat yourself. Finally, create good habits. If you can implement these processes into 1 or 2 matters and then build it into all of your matters, you'll find that your business will be running more smoothly, efficiently, and you won't be wasting time trying to recover debts.